There's been a major development coming out of the Bronx, one that's shaking up not only the roster decisions for the New York Yankees, but also the fan base's expectations for the season. We're talking about a key player going down at a moment when his role on the team is absolutely irreplaceable. The buzz around this situation is intense, and the conversation has reached a boiling point as supporters push for something that would be almost unprecedented in Major League Baseball. The immediate promotion of a 19-year-old phenom, a player whose name is already being whispered in comparisons to legends. The tension is real, the opinions are split, and the stakes? They couldn't be higher. So let's dig into what's going on and why this matters so much. The Yankees have had a fairly respectable season so far. In fact, given the obstacles they've been up against, it's impressive that they're even holding it together. The rotation has been hit with setback after setback. The bullpen's been stretched thin, and on top of all that, injuries have plagued the lineup from every angle. One of the most recent setbacks came in the form of Chisholm Jr., who went down in a moment that looked innocent enough, a slide into third base, but turned into a cause for serious concern. What makes this even more frustrating is that this wasn't even the first knock he took recently. Just before this, he had already been dealing with discomfort while batting against the Orioles, wincing after a swing and clearly not at 100%. That pain? Focused right around his side. But here's the thing. Jazz kept playing. He gritted through the pain, delivered a hit, and made it to third base before the discomfort finally forced him to leave the game. Since then, the conversations around his status have dominated Yankees discourse. Fans are split. The front office is trying to manage expectations. And Jazz himself? He's been very vocal about how he's feeling, which only adds more fuel to this already blazing fire. Chisholm hasn't been shy about expressing his frustration. He's gone on record talking about how this isn't the first time he's dealt with an injury like this and how, in his opinion, it's not as bad as it seems. According to him, he pulled himself out of the game purely as a precaution. Not because he was in unbearable pain, but because he didn't want to risk turning a minor issue into a long-term absence. He was clear. If this were a postseason game, he'd have stayed in. But it's April. There's a lot of season left. And for him, the smarter move was to be cautious. Still, a precautionary exit doesn't erase the fact that there's clearly something going on. A scan is on the way, and that'll be the real decider. Until then, all we have is Jazz's own analysis of his body. He insists the oblique isn't torn, says he can cough without pain, and maintains that he could have pushed through if the situation demanded it. But in the long run, he's choosing to sit for a few days rather than risk being out for 6 weeks. That logic tracks. It's a mature move, but it hasn't stopped the speculation from swirling. Because here's the reality. Jazz is a dynamic player. He brings electricity to the lineup and covers ground in the field like few others can. And while his offensive numbers have been a bit of a mixed bag so far this year, his impact on the team goes beyond the stat sheet. Even so, let's talk numbers. As of now, Jazz is sitting on a 1.1 WAR, which puts him near the top of the Yankees roster in terms of value. That's impressive, especially when you factor in that his batting average is sitting at just .181. But despite that low average, he's already knocked out 7 home runs, has 19 hits in total over 105 at-bats, and driven in 17 runs. That ratio, 7 home runs and 19 hits, says a lot about the kind of damage he can do when he connects. His OPS is hovering around .714, which is a touch below league average, and his slugging has dipped slightly as well. It's been a bumpy ride, no doubt, especially considering how hot he came out of the gate. And that's what makes this moment so critical. Maybe a couple of days off is exactly what he needs. Not just physically, but mentally. Sometimes stepping away from the grind, even just briefly, can be the key to unlocking a new groove. Get the body right, clear the head, and come back ready to swing with purpose. It's happened before, and with Jazz's natural energy and competitive fire, there's reason to believe it could happen again. Now, if you zoom out and look at the big picture, the Yankees are in a tricky spot. Jazz has had moments of brilliance this season, sure, but last year was a different story entirely. He hit .238, racked up 67 hits, launched 18 home runs, drove in 40 runs, and crossed the plate 45 times in just 76 games. His OPS last season, a strong .825, with a slugging percentage at a clean .500. And now, with his production dipping, the team's brass needs to figure out how to get him back on track. The good news is a brief rest might just be the answer. The bad news? There's no guarantee he'll bounce back immediately. But while Jazz takes this breather, fans are already turning their attention elsewhere, specifically to the farm system, and more precisely, to one name that keeps rising to the surface. George Lombard Jr. at only 19 years old. Lombard is the Yankees' top-rated prospect and one of just 2 infielders in the franchise's top 10 pipeline rankings. The other? Rodri Arias, who's still in Single-A. Lombard, though, is in High-A, which is still a few steps away from the majors, but he's turning heads like few prospects his age. His offensive output this year has been eye-popping. We're talking about an OPS north of .900, solid contact to all fields, and a presence at the plate that just screams potential. Not only that, but he's showing patience, plate discipline, and a knack for taking walks. All signs that he's developing into a complete hitter. Add to that his ability to play multiple infield positions, second base, third base, shortstop, and you start to see why some are calling for him to make the leap. But here's where it gets complicated. Lombard is not on the 40-man roster. In order for him to be called up, the Yankees would need to make room, meaning someone gets designated for assignment. That's not a small move. And on top of that, bringing up a teenager who's never played above High-A is nearly unheard of. You'd be hard-pressed to find a recent example of a player jumping that many levels that quickly, especially in a franchise as cautious and methodical as the Yankees. Even so, Lombard's emergence has reignited a conversation about how the Yankees handle their young talent. There are whispers now, drawing comparisons between him and all-time greats. Names like Alex Rodriguez, who debuted in the big leagues at just 18 years old. A-Rod didn't debut with the Yankees, of course, but the parallel is compelling. A generational talent, maturing quickly, putting up crazy numbers in the minors, and looking like he could hang with the pros right now. It's tempting. It's exciting. And for some fans, it feels like a risk worth taking. But history tells us that's not how the Yankees operate. This is a franchise that takes its time, builds methodically, and avoids rushing prospects through the system. More likely, we'll see Lombard finish the year in High-A, maybe get promoted to Double-A mid-season, and then start next year in Triple-A, assuming all continues to go well. If that timeline holds, a major league debut might not come until mid-2026 at the earliest, with 2027 being the more realistic target. Still, in baseball, things change fast. One injury here, one hot streak there, and suddenly the narrative shifts. For now, though, Lombard is doing everything right. He's producing at the plate, showing range and instincts in the field, and running the bases with maturity beyond his years. In one recent sequence, he nearly stole second with a perfectly timed jump, then followed it up by swiping third in the next at-bat. It's the kind of baseball IQ that makes you believe he's got something special brewing. And yes, while it's easy to get caught up in the hype, it's also important to stay grounded. Just because someone's showing flashes of greatness doesn't mean they're ready to face big league pitching day in and day out. But man, it's hard not to be excited about what this kid could become. The Yankees know better than most how difficult it is to balance excitement and patience when it comes to top-tier prospects. They've seen players arrive too early, struggle, and fade, and others who took time to develop, arriving at the perfect moment and delivering exactly what the team needed. That's the dilemma with George Lombard Jr. right now. He's flashing all the tools, making plays that get scouts buzzing, and putting up numbers that would justify a promotion in a more aggressive organization. But this is New York. The lights are brighter, the pressure is heavier, and the margin for error is razor thin. Still, fans can't help themselves. With Jazz on the shelf, even if just for a short stint, and no obvious backup that can offer the same spark, the imagination runs wild. What if Lombard gets a shot? What if he becomes the story of the season? What if he actually lives up to the hype? And to be fair, it's not just blind hope. There's some solid logic behind the desire to see him step in. He's playing at a high level, he fits the positional need, And most importantly, he's exciting. That alone is something the Yankees haven't had a lot of in recent years. That raw, unpredictable electricity that only young talent can bring. But here's the flip side. What happens if you bring him up and he struggles? What does that do to his confidence? What message does that send to the rest of the clubhouse, especially to the veterans grinding it out every day, waiting for their chance? It's a high-stakes gamble, and while the potential payoff is huge, the risk is just as significant. One wrong move, and you could derail the trajectory of a player who might have become a cornerstone if given time. Now, let's loop back to Jazz for a moment. He's clearly not your average Yankee. His style is loud, his energy is infectious, and he brings an edge that's both refreshing and polarizing. Some fans absolutely love it. They see the flair, the confidence, the flair for the dramatic, and they embrace it. Others? Not so much. They prefer the old-school, buttoned-up version of a Yankee, and Jazz doesn't quite fit that mold. But regardless of which camp you fall into, one thing's for sure. When Jazz is locked in, he's a game-changer. The issue is consistency. When he's hot, he's hitting bombs, stealing bases, and playing elite defense. When he's not, well, we're seeing it right now. The swings start to look off, the timing feels just a little out of sync, and the numbers begin to dip. That's why this short break could actually be a blessing in disguise. It gives him time to reset, recharge, and maybe come back with that edge sharpened again. And for the Yankees, that's the version of Jazz they need down the stretch. The one who can flip a game with a single swing or a daring stolen base. Let's not forget what he did last season. He posted an OPS over .800, a slugging percentage that hovered around .500, and played with a fire that often lifted the entire team. He was one of the main reasons they were even in the hunt late in the year. So yes, the numbers this season aren't quite there yet, but the track record is. The talent is. The ceiling remains sky high. And that's what makes the timing of all this so tricky. The Yankees are trying to compete, trying to stay healthy, and trying to build for the future all at once. And when one of your most explosive players goes down, even temporarily, it forces you to ask hard questions. Do you patch the hole with someone safe, someone who's already on a roster but might not offer much upside? Or do you roll the dice, shake things up, and maybe ignite something special? That's why George Lombard Jr. is in the spotlight right now. He's become a symbol of what could be. Not just a fill-in, not just a Band-Aid, but maybe, just maybe, the next big thing. And while it's unlikely that the Yankees will fast-track him to the majors this season, the fact that fans are even having this conversation says a lot. It means the farm system is doing its job. It means hope is alive. And it means the pressure on Jazz to return and perform at a high level is greater than ever. But again, nothing is set in stone. Everything hinges on that MRI scan, on how Jazz's body responds over the next few days, and on whether the Yankees feel confident enough to ride it out or if they feel pushed to act. If it turns out to be a minor strain, then maybe he misses just a handful of games, comes back, and picks up where he left off. If it's more serious, though, well, then all bets are off. The team might have to get creative. And when that happens, the possibilities and the debates multiply. It's also worth pointing out that, internally, the Yankees do seem to be high on Lombard. Coaches have praised his maturity, his work ethic, and his poise. One source even mentioned that talking to him feels like talking to a veteran, not a teenager. That's rare. That's special. And that's why, even if he doesn't make the leap this year, his time is coming. And when it does, he's not just going to be another name on the lineup card. He's going to matter. Right now, the Yankees are walking a tightrope. They're trying to stay competitive in a division that leaves no room for error, all while navigating a roster riddled with injury questions and performance gaps. They can't afford too many missteps, but they also can't afford to ignore what's happening in the minor leagues. Because while Jazz heals and while veterans try to find their rhythm, there's a teenager down in High A making noise, and that noise is getting harder to ignore. So keep an eye on George Lombard Jr. Keep watching Jazz Chisholm Jr. see how this situation unfolds. Because whether it's a short-term decision or a long-term shift, the Yankees are approaching a moment where the next move they make could define not just this season, but the seasons to come. But before we continue, please remember to join our channel and give this video a like. Your support allows us to keep bringing you the latest news about the New York Yankees. Feel free to share your thoughts on the news in the comments. In a move that has shocked the baseball world, the New York Yankees have announced the signing of shortstop Corey Seager. The news, which came as a surprise to many, has sent shockwaves through Major League Baseball as the Yankees have added another superstar to their already stacked roster. Seager, a former World Series MVP and one of the premier shortstops in the game, was expected to remain with the Texas Rangers, who have shown a strong commitment to building a competitive team around him. However, the Yankees have swooped in and secured his services for what promises to be a game-changing move. Seager's signing is particularly noteworthy given the Yankees' current roster, which already features a wealth of talent, including Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton, and DJ LeMahieu. By adding Seager, the Yankees have bolstered their infield and further solidified their place as one of the top contenders in the American League. Known for his smooth fielding, powerful bat, and clutch performances, Seager immediately becomes one of the key players for the Yankees moving forward. This move is likely a direct response to the Yankees' disappointing postseason performances in recent years. Despite having one of the most formidable lineups in baseball, the team has struggled to get over the hump in October. With Seager in the fold, the Yankees are hoping to improve their chances of reaching the World Series and capturing their 28th championship title. His ability to perform in high-pressure situations, demonstrated by his World Series MVP award in 2020, makes him a perfect fit for the Bronx. The signing also reflects the Yankees' commitment to staying competitive in a division that has become increasingly tough. With the Boston Red Sox, Toronto Blue Jays, and Tampa Bay Rays all fielding strong teams, the Yankees can't afford to rest on their laurels. Seager's acquisition provides the team with another weapon to fend off their rivals and maintain their status as one of the most powerful organizations in baseball. While the financial details of the contract remain unclear, one thing is certain: the Yankees are making a statement. By landing one of the best players on the market, they're showing their intent to go all in for the upcoming seasons. The addition of Corey Seager marks a new chapter for the Yankees, and it's one that promises to have a lasting impact on the future of the franchise. Fans are already excited to see how he will fit into the team's dynamic and what role he will play in the Yankees' quest for another championship. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the New York Yankees, please subscribe to our channel and give us a like. We always appreciate your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.